I guess we're live now, Edward Freytag. Welcome to our Meet the Artist and His Work with Edward Freytag on the Show and Marching Music Facebook Live. And welcome, Edward. Welcome in
Hey,
Europe.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I don't think we could do a better job of social distancing right now between you and I. So that's great,
yeah, this
and
is
I'm
great. Yeah,
absolutely thrilled to be on the show, man.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you're more than welcome. Um, we have two viewers.
Okay.
Yes. So I actually don't know what to do. If I'll do everything in English or do some Dutch in between. It depends on the viewers, but
Okay.
I think I'll start off in English and I'll try to do the best I can. I'm
I'll
most
guarantee you, my part will be in English.
yeah, I guess so. Are you speaking any other languages? Actually,
No, I just bits and pieces, phrases, but I'm an English speaking human being.
okay. Yeah, but I also hear that a lot of people in the United States are speaking Spanish.
Yes.
There's a big group of Spanish speaking people.
Yes, absolutely. I have several
Okay,
Hispanic students, and
but it's not
yeah.
common that you're getting Spanish as a second language in high school or university.
There are matter of fact, sometimes it's the opposite. We have several students that are what we call ESL, which are English as a second language. So
English
they're
as a
actually
second
yeah,
language. Okay, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's actually a program within the school systems here.
And then they're getting taught in Spanish or.
They are in the process of both learning English,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have staff and personnel that are Hispanic that assist them, and sometimes actually goes to their classes with them so that they can have translation
Yeah.
with
Okay.
English teaching.
Because like the kids here in elementary school in the last 2 3 years, they're getting English and in sometimes German already
Right,
as a
right.
second language. Because we're here in the Netherlands, we're in between. Like, and at the in the other side of the ocean is the UK, and then our next neighbor is Germany.
Right.
Yeah.
In the late 70s, I was in Russia for about 9, 10, 11 days,
You're kidding.
and no, I was performing there, and during the day, had the opportunity to go to a Russian school
Yeah.
and visit classes and things, along with all the other musicians that were touring with me, and saw these language classes with these little children, and man, they were speaking. These little kids were speaking 3 and 4 languages, and they were like in elementary school. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah.
But my first question is then, could you go there in the 70s like a U.S. citizen to visit Russia?
Well, I actually was part of a touring group
Yeah.
that was sent there, a university touring group that was sent there by the State Department
Oh,
as
like kind of an
a
exchange
an
program or something like.
exchange program. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and so we were in Moscow and Leningrad and Kiev, and then we went to Germany from there, and we went through England, and it was great,
Pre-
absolutely great.
Pretty cool.
I was a youngster then.
Okay, but that's a side story. For
Yeah.
everybody who's watching, you're really welcome to this 1 hour Meet the Artist and His Work with Edward Freitag. And I totally forgot to ask if you're present on this live stream. Can you put a short yes in the chat if you can hear us? Because we were chatting already and we we had some great stories, but we even don't know if our audience is hearing us. So if you're with us in this live event, please put a yes in the comments in the chat if you can hear us, so we really know we can continue this this event if you can hear us. That's yeah. There's Herman. He's present and he says, "Yeah, super. He can hear us, so we can
Excellent.
continue." So, Edward, We
Yes.
know each other for a couple of years already, but we just met last year, just before COVID hits,
Yes.
in where was it? San Antonio.
Yes. San Antonio, Texas at
Yeah,
TMEA.
TMEA. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And that was the first time we met, and we know each other a couple of years because my company, Show and Marching Music, is providing European distribution for the stuff you're writing for Roloff. So that's cool. And I've been reading your studying your bio just a little, and I read that you were studying in the University of Chattanooga and Knoxville.
Yes.
Why
I
why
did.
why two universities?
It was two separate degree programs.
Okay.
In, in Chattanooga, I was doing my bachelor's degree or my undergraduate degree in music education. And then a little bit later on, I went to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville to do my master's degree in jazz and percussion performance. So it was actually two totally separate degree programs at two different times.
But it's the same university, the University of Tennessee.
Yes, yeah.
And
There's a Chattanooga campus.
what's it like to be like a bachelor music student in the U.S.? Is it like it's a general idea of music, or can you are you specializing from the very beginning in some kind of
Um,
instrument or some kind of or jazz or classical music? How does it work?
right. Yes, there's some specialization right from the get go. Most music majors doing their bachelor's degree will have a focus or a major instrument
Mm-hmm.
that they play, and they will do most of their work and studying in private instruction on that instrument. Some will have secondary instruments. If you're a music education major,
Mm-hmm.
you have your primary instrument, plus you have to take what's called methods courses, where you learn to play all of the instruments, basically, well enough to where you can teach younger musicians to play those instruments. It still doesn't make you a specialist in those instruments,
Mm-hmm.
but you have knowledge of those, and that's what band directors have to go through here in order to become music educators, either in middle school or in high school.
So
And
that's actually where it starts, like a band director. It starts at middle school with kids from like 12, 13 years old.
if they choose to do that,
Yeah, if
you
they
can,
choose.
you can yeah, you can come out of the university and teach. You can teach high school. You can teach middle school.
Mm-hmm.
You can even teach elementary if you would like. There's some choices there depending on your own personal desire and your career path that you choose.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, teach at a university, you have to have more advanced degrees. The bachelor's degree will not get you into a university as an instructor.
Yeah, okay. More we'll talk more later about that because I was like I just wanted to know because when your path is like I start teaching at elementary school, then you're
Yeah.
teaching more like general music classes.
Yes, absolutely. That's true. Yeah.
And then how many hours a week are do the kids have like lessons in music in elementary
Um,
school?
in elementary,
Yeah,
it's a very good question because I'll be honest with you, I have no idea.
you have
Um,
no
I,
idea.
I I have never taught elementary, and I don't teach elementary because I know that that particular age group
Mm-hmm.
um, is not something within my personality
Yeah, I
that I can
understand.
that I can relate to. So I've never taught elementary. I've taught middle, I've taught high school, and I've taught university level.
Okay, yeah, David is with us, David Vaughn, and he says our instrumental program starts at the age of 10. So that should be then the two last years in elementary school, David. Am I correct? Maybe we're getting a yes from him, and then we know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The real serious study of playing an instrument for us here starts about the fifth or the sixth grade level. which is probably going to be somewhere around 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 10 or 11 is still elementary school.
For us here, that's
Yeah.
actually middle school.
That's middle school already.
Yeah, 11.
I'm
We've got some
confused.
11-year-old. Yes, yes.
I don't get it anymore.
It's okay. I don't either.
Yeah, but it seems like it's different in every state.
um, I'm not really sure the vast differences there. I know that everywhere, every system that I've taught in now has middle school as being sixth, seventh, and eighth grade.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started teaching in the 70s, middle school did not exist. It was junior high school, which
Yeah,
was seventh and eighth grade,
but
and
does
then
it
kids.
still exist like junior high school, or is that
You
over?
know, I'm not sure. I don't know of any systems personally
Mm-hmm.
that still have junior high programs.
Yeah.
Every system that I know of has the middle school approach. But
They,
I'm not speaking authoritatively there. So,
but I'm just trying to understand how the
yeah,
education system works in the U.S. because it's like
right,
totally different, like the most European countries are doing it. So I'm trying to
right.
learn a bit, but I'm still confused. But David says yes. It's
Yeah,
instrument the last 2 years of elementary school the instrumental program starts. So
okay.
and then
Where is David located?
David Vaughn, he is, I think he's, um, I know, Oklahoma.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, he's teaching music theory and composition at Oklahoma State University.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
Yeah, thanks for being with us, David. Cool. And then you, because you just told me that when you're going to university and want to do a bachelor, if you and you need to do that to start teaching at in middle school, and then you needed to learn all the other instruments as well,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
that's what most band directors are doing in middle school. They
Yeah.
teaching like a group, a band class, like once or twice a week or every day. What's in your situation?
Yeah, for us,
Yeah,
it's every day. We
every
see
day.
every student every day
And
that we
they come
teach.
together for an hour or longer or shorter or
Usually, for us, it's about an hour long class.
okay, yeah.
And we have them broken down by instrumentation.
Yeah, and that's so cool because when you're so like a band director has to learn all the instruments to play which are in a band.
Yes,
So you can play three notes on a clarinet as well.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, and so and some of them, I mean, some of them I play pretty well,
yeah.
and then some of them I'm going, nah, I just don't do it well at all.
But you will always have your own like your own special instrument.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think
I will share this with everyone real quickly.
yeah.
Um, my bachelor's degree study was not in percussion. That was not my
Okay,
major instrument. My major instrument was saxophone as a bachelor's student.
you're kidding.
And so my first music ed degree was in saxophone. And while I was in college at the university, I started playing percussion and then became serious about it. And for a while, I sort of rode both pathways. I was a saxophonist and a percussionist. And then eventually, I went to the dark side and became just a percussionist. And
The dark
so,
side.
yeah. So when I did my advanced university study, I was doing it as a percussionist. So
Okay, so you have a degree in saxophone as well.
yes.
Okay, that's cool. And what was the point that you were intrigued by percussion and what instrument like did the trigger?
It was drum set for me.
Drums.
Absolutely, yeah. As a college freshman, I started going to the music building, and I would just find a drum set practice room, and I would just go in and play, and I seemed to have a very natural aptitude for the instrument, just right from the get go. And so after about 6 months of hanging out doing that, uh, an opportunity came available uh, to audition
Mm-hmm.
for a spot as the drum set player in one of the university ensembles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and did the audition, and actually beat some of the other percussion majors, and actually got the spot,
Cool.
which really pushed me forward then. And so then I just became a fanatic about percussion.
But that's so amazing because, like, most students, when they start learning percussion with me, they're like 8, 10 years, and they really need their time to develop, to become better. Because when you're going to college, you're 18, 19, something
Yeah.
like that, and then
Yeah.
out of the blue, you did audition and you made it.
Yes. Yeah.
That,
It surprised me, I think, as much as it did everybody else.
yeah, because it needs some time to be a well
Yeah.
educated percussionist.
Yes.
So that
Absolutely.
was like by surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. And so that's and so in middle school, there's a band director who's teaching the whole band, and he's like playing the he knows the basic elements of all instruments, and he put like a band together for those 3 years in middle school.
Yes.
And then when you're done with middle school and you're going to high school, and is there in every high school a music education program as well?
I would say, and I'm speaking generally, I would
Mm-hmm.
say yes. I'd say
Yes.
it would be an unusual situation for there not to be a music program at the high school level.
Maybe
Um,
in a little tiny village with not much
yeah,
people.
yeah. Even small schools or small
Okay.
towns have some type of music program going on at the high school level. It may be only one teacher doing a very small program,
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, they'll have a program. And as a matter of fact, like the high school programs here, um, even when I was doing high school programs here, we had two full time band directors, um, and then probably maybe 4 to 5 extra special staff members working with the band, coming in, teaching private lessons, doing marching techniques, visual, color guard, drum majors, etc.
Mm-hmm.
We end up, some of the schools here have staffs working with their high schools with maybe 10, 11 people, um, working with them.
Okay, that's cool. And those private teachers are just coming in when you needed them, or are they there the whole season to get private lessons on all different instruments for the kids?
It varies. It
Okay.
varies. Most of the time, they're individually contracted, and they come when there's a need, and it's usually on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not actual faculty members of the school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was asking this because in Europe, the most schools don't have like, yeah, they have a music program. They may be getting general music lessons once or twice a week, and that's
Right.
it. We don't have school bands. We don't. That's a rarity when a school has a band or an orchestra or something like that, and that's why I was so amazed that um, um, why is this in the US? Is there a reason that the music education is such an important part of school?
Um, I'm not really sure. I know there has been tons of lobbying and pursuing, politically, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, uh, the immersion of the arts within the school, public school and private school framework, as being essential curriculum. I know in many states, the arts are considered to be core curriculum, just like everything else. And so it and particularly music has a pretty prominent role within the educational system here.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm absolutely thrilled about that. But I know, some school programs, the music departments are the flagship of the school, so to speak. I mean, the school is known for its music program or its band program
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. I mean, that is the thing that defines the school itself. And so, as a music educator, I'm absolutely thrilled about that, as you can imagine. My very first teaching position back in the late '70s was with a band program in Tennessee
Mm-hmm.
that we had over 300 kids in the band. We had 4 full-time band directors on staff,
Mm-hmm.
plus all of our special staff members, and literally the school was known for the band program,
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
it was just an amazing place to be.
And it's not just because of they just need a band in the stands during a football game.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. This band program went everywhere in the country, competing all over the place. That was Cleveland High School in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to make a joke because I, I, I was trying to make a joke about the music program is just as important because we need a band in the stands.
Well, that is part of it actually,
It's part,
but
yeah,
it's a small part of it.
yeah. I understand. I was just joking around.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I
but
got
when
you.
I tell my kids, because I used to teach at a couple of marching bands here too, and when I tell my kids that in the U.S. They can do band and play on their instruments every day in school, they were like amazed.
Yeah, yeah,
They told me
absolutely.
I wish I would live there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's some great opportunities.
Hmm. Okay. Um, I have some questions from people who are with us already. And
Sure.
one of our customers is Rene, and he's asking you a technical thing. How do you learn roles? Do you learn it by learn the kids a press roll first, or are you learning an open roll from the very beginning by learning them playing diddles?
You know,
We're switching from from the system to technical things already, but that's
that's
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
No problem. You know, I when I was first teaching, and probably for 2 or 3 decades, um, I went from starting with the multiple bounce concept,
Mm-hmm.
and then narrowing that down and backing it up to where a kid finally could control a double stroke or a diddle. And in recent years, probably over the past 7 or 8 years, I've done a complete turnaround on that and decided that just absolutely makes no sense to me anymore. So I now am teaching students. Well, as a matter of fact, I've got some sixth graders right now
Mm-hmm.
that have been playing less than about a month and a half, that are already playing some really nice controlled double strokes, at about this tempo, and we're doing it. I'm now teaching it from the standpoint of I've got 2 stroke styles that I'm teaching young players. One
Mm-hmm.
of them, and I call this zone one. This is a stroke that starts from 1 inch above the head, the complete stroke up to about 12 inches, back down, and stops
Mm-hmm.
an inch above the head by straight wrist and closing the fingers. Bap, there's that stroke. And we call that zone one. And then the zone two stroke
Yeah.
is with the back fingers slightly open. And I'm now playing from the 1 inch position. We strike the head and they allow the stick to rebound all the way to the up position. And
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, it's going to continue, but we actually learn to stop it at first. So this is our zone two stroke.
So
And then I start
that's actually
teaching,
a full stroke,
yes, the full stroke, yeah.
and a zone
And
one is like
we,
a down.
yeah, and so we start playing after they've really got this zone one downstroke under
Mm-hmm.
control. We start playing some eights, and we're doing this zone two full stroke where it's rebounding. And on the eighth stroke, I make them make sure I said on that final stroke, wrist stays straight, back fingers closed. And
Mm-hmm.
they'll play their first 7 strokes, and they'll be fluid. They'll look nice. They're doing the right thing. And all they simply do is just straight wrist, close the back fingers, bam, the stick stays in place.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go down to sevens. We go to sixes, fives, fours. Now we're playing threes. And then we go to twos. And at this point, I haven't mentioned the word diddle. I haven't even talked about a roll. All we're doing is playing
Mm-hmm.
strokes.
Yeah.
And when they get down to the twos, now they're playing one full stroke that rebounds, followed by the downstroke with the wrist down and the fingers closed. And now they're doing that legit push pull, open close that we use on controlled double strokes.
Yeah.
And they're playing a double stroke roll, and they don't know they're playing a double stroke roll. To
Yeah.
them, they're just playing twos,
So that's the
and
trick, letting them play it without even know it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then
Cool.
we keep speeding it up, and at first they're looking at eighth notes that says right, right, left, left. They're just in their head, they're just playing eighth notes
Mm-hmm.
uh, with double strokes. Then we learn about 16th notes. We apply the same technique, and now we're playing pretty quickly on it. And next thing you know, we start actually talking about rolls, and they go, "Oh, what's it's those double stroke things we're already doing." I
We
go,
just did
"Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah." And so they're playing rolls before they actually even know they're playing
Yeah.
rolls.
That's a
And
cool.
that's my approach now. And
That's a.
so far, it's working great. The kids are having, and these are beginners, and
Mm-hmm.
they've got a great second diddle. It sounds great because they've got the push pull technique down.
Yeah. But a sixth grader is really a beginner.
But for us, a
Yeah.
sixth grader is usually a beginner. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But there's no chance they had like any drum education before they come to before
Yeah,
they start in sixth grade.
not the ones that I'm teaching.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ones I'm getting, generally, most of them haven't had any instrumental background at all. So they're starting from square one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. And
Hope that helps answer the question there.
yeah, yeah, I think and he has a follow up question.
Sure.
And why did you make that switch? I think you answered it already because they're but
Actually,
go ahead.
I made the switch because I discovered that going from the multiple bounce and then narrowing it down to 2 strokes, when they're playing the multiple bounce, that's a whole different technique, hand and fingers, than what you do when you play double strokes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting these kids that they were playing a double stroke roll, and it was a nice even double stroke roll, but the second note of the diddle was weak
Mm-hmm.
because they were thinking of it as just strictly a bounce rather than a controlled stroke. And so I thought, well, this is horrible. So then I was having to go back and then reteach them how to make the second note of the diddle sound great. So the rolls weren't butta, butta.
Yeah.
And I wanted da-gat, da-gat, da. I
Yeah.
wanted everything to that second note to sound great.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, why am I'm having to undo something I've taught in order for them to get it right? That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm that guy that if there's a logical way to get from point A to point Z, I'm going to go the logical way so I don't have to reteach things later, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah. And how many years did it took you to learn this?
Well, apparently I did for at least maybe 2.5 decades. I was doing it the other way
Yeah.
until I just got frustrated with the fact that the players had horrible second diddle notes,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going, okay, there's a solution to this. And I've discovered that I've learned more about my own playing by teaching
Mm-hmm.
than I ever learned from a private instructor teaching me, because I had to really analyze what I'm doing in order to teach it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I discovered about me, hey, here's the way I get a great sounding second diddle. And so I thought, okay, let's teach it to these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. And that's this technique you're using now, is that a thing you're going to explain in your new book as well?
Yes. It's going to be matter of fact, it's going to be in detail in the new book. And there will be YouTube videos actually showing the teaching technique for that also that will accompany the new book.
Because we've been discussing this before the live event, but I didn't ask if we could talk about it in the event. But
Oh, it's cool. Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm very, very excited about it. Do you mind if I say something about it a little
yeah.
bit?
So this guy is working on a new book.
um, yeah, it's going to be called The Drummer's Guide to the Universe, and it's almost done. It's about 130 some odd pages, and it is designed to teach and develop hand technique, and it's also designed to teach notational literacy as far as rhythmic content, counting, everything that they might see in a musical scenario, and it's designed for the absolute beginner all the way up to the person that is about to do their audition for entry into college.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
really excited
it's
about it.
middle school through high school level.
Yes, all the way up to college. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And is it going to be a printed book or is it like a PDF digital download or?
It will be primarily a PDF digital download,
Mm-hmm.
but I will also offer a print copy of it if someone would rather have that.
Sometimes I think for those young kids it's better to have a printed book.
Yeah,
I
I
I
will make sure that that's available.
I also from my own teaching experience, the most of those young kids are really proud to have their own first drumming book.
Oh yeah,
Oh, my
oh
first
yeah,
drumming book.
yeah, yeah,
And most of the times with those young kids, PDFs are a little bit chaotic.
yeah. Exactly. You're
Yeah,
right. The kids love to have books, man.
yeah,
I get pictures, text pictures all the time from instructors sending me a picture of one of their students,
mm-hmm.
and hey, proud owner of, and the picture looks like this.
Yeah,
It's this picture right here.
yeah. We know those. Yeah,
Yeah, it's that picture, which is great, which is
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I have another question from Mark. He's
Okay.
with us from the Netherlands, and he says, "I've always wondered why marching or concert band is so big in U.S. schools, while here in the Netherlands we only have community bands with people basically of all ages."
Gotcha. Um, that's a great question. The school band programs here over the years have just developed into these monstrosities of marching performance and wind ensemble and concert band, and why it developed it in that way, I really don't know. I am ecstatically thrilled that it has.
Mm-hmm.
And there are community bands here also, and they are all age organizations, and but the community bands are a supplement generally to the educational programs rather than the other way around. Because
Mm-hmm.
of course kids that play in community ensembles uh, uh, have their first obligation is to their school music program
Yeah.
rather than to the community ensemble.
And then
So the
for fun, they playing in the community band as well.
yes, exactly, exactly. You know the the biggest downside that I see in secondary, middle school and secondary programs in the United States is, and I'm speaking generally here. So I'm not talking about everybody's program, but I would love to see more emphasis in these programs placed on commercial music. Um, I think there needs to be a balance there. We've got these incredible marching programs. We've got these amazing concert programs,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have enough commercial music ensembles like jazz ensembles or rock ensembles or things of that nature happening in the school program. Not nearly enough. And the fact of the matter is, um, for all of our students that we teach, if those students are going to come out of our programs and actually make a living as a musician, particularly in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably going to be in commercial music. That's
Yeah.
that's where the living is. So I think as school programs, we're doing a little disservice there, and we need to ramp up a little bit on the commercial aspect of the programs. And a lot of the clinics that I'm doing across the country right now with my drum partner are focused on that element. We're doing clinics everywhere on how drummers and percussionists work together in
Mm-hmm.
commercial music and jazz. And we're going into schools and colleges and really kind of hammering that, because if you live in a music industry town, that's what you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, didn't mean to throw that in there, but that I
I
thought that
think
was
I think you're
important.
right. I did a lot of snare drum studying, a lot of marimba studying, and a lot of timpani. But when the most bucks I make like a performer
Hmm.
are like a drum set player in a commercial band, or like doing musical gigs or whatever.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
think the reason, and maybe I'm not right, but I think it's easier in a school to put up a band program than a rock program with all those small ensembles.
Right.
And I think it's pretty easy to put up a band where everybody can play along, almost
Yes. Yes.
everybody,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. You're right.
it's not a problem when you have like 20 saxophones. Who cares?
Right. Exactly. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And again, I was speaking very generally. There's some, particularly right here in the area where I am. There's some great jazz programs here, and commercial music programs. I mean, we live right outside of Nashville. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, music industry town. So
Yeah.
there's some great stuff going on in that respect. But there's a lot of schools that I'm seeing, schools where I've gone and done clinics where there's no commercial music at all.
No
And
commercial music at all.
yeah, not in the school program. Yeah,
Because
no jazz, no anything.
Because I
And
understand most schools have like, besides their band, they have like jazz ensemble or big band as well.
right, not all. You'd be surprised.
Okay, that's really a small part of the
Yeah,
schools. And
yeah.
is that also happening in middle school, jazz ensemble, big band, or is that a high school thing?
There are several middle schools that have jazz programs. There sure are, and
Yeah,
some of them are quite good. Yeah.
quite good. Yeah, and for example, if you're going to study in college, is there like you can specialize in classical music and in jazz?
Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you are let's say you're a general percussion major, most universities, and again, I'm trying not to step on anyone's toes.
Yeah.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm being very general about this because there are many exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, the study of drum set and world percussion, and in many percussion programs in universities here, it's not part of the degree program. You have to declare yourself as a commercial music major or as a jazz major in order to get those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not. I don't really think I agree with that. I think every percussionist in a university program should have the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time playing drum set and world percussion, that whole commercial music aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're maybe getting cheated a little bit if they don't get that opportunity. So
So it's actually like back in the days here in Europe, because when I started studying like 1993, I guess you could choose if you want to do a bachelor in classical percussion or a
right,
bachelor in jazz drum set. And
yes,
but before those days here in Europe, actually, classical percussion was the thing.
right,
There wasn't any education on jazz drum set, and if you wanted to play the drums, you had to find some private teacher and you had to do it
right,
yourself.
right, exactly. Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's currently still happening on a lot of high schools.
yeah, yeah. I'm thrilled for all of the programs that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there should be more,
Yeah.
and I don't think there should be as huge a distinction between the two types of programs. I find it interesting as a jazz bachelor's student will have to take all the classes that the classical people take, plus all of their jazz things.
Mm-hmm.
But classical people don't take the jazz courses. And I'm going, okay, but that's not balanced, you
Yeah.
know. So the jazz guys are actually getting the classical training,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're jazz with it. But the classical guys aren't getting very much experience with jazz at all, and that's something I would like to see
Yeah.
maybe rethought or reinvented a little bit. You know,
It's still like the time I studied because my teacher was like a principal timpanist in a major orchestra here in the Netherlands, and I like a jazz music and pop music a lot, and
right,
I was like spending my day in the jazz department of the school playing with bands and ensembles, and actually he didn't like it that much.
right. I get it, but
Yeah.
I'm like you. 90% of the income that I've made in my life as a player has been playing jazz and commercial music.
Yeah, me
It has,
too.
even though I have both backgrounds, that's where my income was. So
Yeah,
you know,
that's reality. That's how it works,
yeah,
I guess.
absolutely,
You need to be
absolutely.
you need to be that good if you can make an income with like as a marimba soloist or as a multi percussion player or um, and you need to do audition a lot if you want to become like a principal player in one of the orchestras.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when we have like audition here with the Concertgebouw Orchestra, you maybe you I think that's a world famous orchestra, and
Yeah,
a lot of Dutch guys are doing audition, and then there are also a lot of people from abroad who want the job, and most of the times like we got something from outside the Netherlands who's getting the job.
right,
Yeah,
right, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. See what we have some more questions. Herman has the question: who's your big example, Edward?
For me personally,
Yeah, for you.
oh, okay. If it'd be very difficult to narrow it down to one for me, and and ironically, some of my biggest musical influences are not percussionists or not drummers. One of my hugest influences was Miles Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the music of Miles and what Miles did through the evolution of jazz, being the leader at the forefront of almost every directional change that happened in jazz, and Miles was always at the forefront of that. Just wow, it just excited me all the time. And John Coltrane, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
From a drumming perspective, I've been asked several times, "Who's your favorite drummer?"
Yeah.
And I go on which day, you know. I mean, it just depends on what I'm listening to or what I'm into at the moment. But if I had to, if I was forced to choose,
I force
okay,
you.
yeah, I'm going to force you. If y'all were forced to only choose three drummers
Yeah.
that I had to play like,
Mm-hmm.
I would pick a combination of Jimmy Cobb when
Yeah.
he was playing with Miles,
Mm-hmm.
and Steve Gadd and Bernard Purdy.
Purdy.
I would, yes, I
Cool.
would take those three guys and mash them and meld them together, and that's who I would want to be. Those
Mm-hmm.
are three of the most grooving drummers that ever walked the planet. Those
Okay.
those those guys are huge influences on what I do. Yeah.
I think I picked David Garibaldi.
Oh, love Garibaldi, Tower of
Yeah.
Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rocco
Yeah,
just passed away last week, I read. The bass guitar
I
player.
saw that. Yeah, I sure did.
Sad. Because I saw them like 2 years ago here in the Netherlands. That was the last time
Right. Cool.
in the original. Yeah. Okay. So and then college and actually I saw like a couple of weeks ago I saw some original handwritten copies of your Rudimental Cookbook. Where did you start writing this book? And how did you came up with the
Yeah,
ideas for the book?
I started, this. that book came out in 1993, Rudimental Cookbook.
Okay, that's cool.
And
That's the year when I did drum corps.
yeah, that's when the book came out.
Yeah,
And
cool.
at the time, um, I wasn't writing in finale. I mean, finale was just an infant at the time,
Mm-hmm.
so I was handwriting everything,
Yeah.
and fortunately, I have this really nice, neat manuscript that looks really cool.
Okay,
So
cool.
the first version of the Rudimental Cookbook, and I've actually got one of those early copies. Every solo in it was handwritten. All the text was actually typed on the typewriter and
Typewriter.
then superimposed into the handwritten manuscript.
Yeah.
And about the first 20 some odd copies were just printed at Kinko's,
Mm-hmm.
at a copy place over here.
Yeah.
And uh, then I took one of those to the guys at Roll Off, and I said, guys, I've got something that I think you might be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, man. Chris Cockrell at Roll Off Productions looked at me and he said, we don't do books. And
That's what he
I said,
said.
yeah, yeah. And I
That's
still,
fun.
they didn't have any books at the time. And
Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, well, I tell you what, I said, just take a copy, look it over and just see what you think. So then he called me the next morning, like early the next morning. He says, Fry baby. That's what he calls me.
Fry baby.
It says, Fry baby,
Yeah.
we have to have this book. And I said, okay. And so, bam, that was the Rudimental Cookbook was the first book that Roll Off Productions ever published.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I had no idea that it would become what it has become. I mean, I had no idea, but I was excited about the book, and I wrote the book because there was a gigantic gap in
Mm-hmm.
the percussion world at the time that represented what was happening rudimentally in drum corps at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had private students that were wanting, Mr. Freytag, we want some really cool rudimental solos to play in solo and ensemble competitions that represent what's happening right now today. And I said, okay. I said, I'll see what I can find for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I start looking, and I'm not finding anything. I mean, there were a couple of things out that were pretty hip, but I thought there's nothing there. So I just wrote 5 solos for these kids, and they took them to this contest. And they came back and they said all the judges were asking us, where did you guys get these solos? These are
Mm-hmm.
the coolest things ever. And this light bulb went off, and I went, okay, somebody needs to document what's happening right now. I think it'll be me. And so that's really and those 5 solos that those kids played are
Yeah.
actually in the middle section of the Rudimental Cookbook. They're in that medium section right there that I wrote for those kids. And but that's kind of what got me started on that book when it first came out. And yes, it was handwritten at first.
Yeah.
Where did you see that, man?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in a lot of band directors groups
Yeah.
on Facebook, and sometimes you see something and you realize, oh,
Wow.
this was the Rudimental Cookbook. I don't know. S-
Yeah. Cool.
Of course, there are people they should have like a handwritten version somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I sold quite a few of those handwritten versions before it actually became a published
Yeah.
entity. So yeah, there's some of them around for sure.
And before those days, then when you wanted to go to do an ensemble or individual competition, you needed to write your own solo, or they just played like from the Wilcoxon book or from like
Like the Pratt book. Yeah.
Pratt book. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but those are more like um, rudimental pieces from the traditional side of
Right.
rudimental drumming.
Yeah. Fun story. Um, uh, John Pratt's daughter contacted me on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's been several years back before he passed, and she said my dad wants a copy of your book. And I
Cool.
said okay, and so I'm going, John Pratt, let's copy him.
Yeah.
So I sent him both. I sent him Rudimental Cookbook, and I also sent him the volume two, the Just Desserts,
Mm-hmm.
and I signed him and everything. And I told Joni, I said I'll send him on one condition.
Yeah.
I said he has to send me a signed copy of his book.
The Pratt book.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I've got a copy of the Pratt book, man. That's a signed copy from John S. Pratt, which is one of my prized possessions, you know. But that was cool. That was a good stamp of validation for me about what I was writing for him to want a copy of it. That was cool.
Yeah, that's some kind of recognition when
Yeah,
someone like that wants to have your book.
exactly,
That's pretty
exactly.
cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what's it like when you want to go to like a individuals or ensemble competition and you want to play a snare drum solo or a tenor solo? Do you have like to play a piece from the list? Um, are there any lists
Um,
for
it,
solo and ensemble competitions?
it depends on the state.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee has no state preferred music list
Okay.
for solo and ensemble. So students can come in and play whatever that they would like. I mean, of course, the content of what they're playing is being judged. So you send kids with great material, but there's nothing that specifies that. But other states that actually have preferred music lists, yes, you have to play something from that list.
And
Um,
if you want to play something else, you have to send it in before,
it has to be uh,
judged before on the
accept-
level, or
it has to be accepted to the list, and I think again it's different from state to state. Some states re-up their list like every year. Some do it every 3 to 4 years. There's like a cycle where they do that. So it just kind of depends on. It's different from state to state.
yeah, good because I have just two of my ensemble pieces on the Texas music list, and
Yeah,
they do like new pieces every year, but that's not how every state works with their PML.
right. Yeah,
And
that's
and
different.
as I understood, Texas is like the biggest state in some kind of example state for things happening in music education.
Yeah, Texas is a real great leader at the forefront of music education. Great programs there, great teachers there. Texas has been amazingly good to me as a writer and as a composer.
Mm-hmm.
I probably sell more materials in Texas than I do anywhere else. And
And why is it that Texas is so big in this?
that's a great question. I'm not sure how it all came about. Um, uh, I just know I've actually done several clinics in Texas, and I've judged in Texas at some festivals and things. And usually the level, the performance level of what I see is just absolutely outstanding in Texas. So like I said, I think the state itself attracts um, the brightest and the best as
Mm-hmm.
far as educators are concerned. And I think that's part of probably the potential of why the programs are so good. And also which I love, Texas has percussion specialists just about at every school, and they're full-time faculty,
Mm-hmm.
and their job is they just teach percussion. That's what they do. So now not every state has that. Tennessee has nothing like that.
So
Um, we,
in a Texas school, you have like one or two band directors, and there's always a percussion specialist as well.
yes, and that
Okay,
specialist
that's
might
cool.
they might service a high school, and then they might service two or three middle schools that actually feeds that high school, but they're teaching strictly percussion.
Okay.
And I think that's great because as we all know as percussionists, percussionist is an unusual animal in the music world,
Yeah.
and requires its own space
Yeah.
and its own instruction. I mean, it's a really weird entity, you know.
Yeah, I see a lot of band directors struggling keeping their percussionists busy during the year.
Yeah, we have in Tennessee. Almost everybody has percussion instructors,
Hmm.
but they're not on faculty, or they're not actually hired by the school system. Most of them are independent contractors that are paid by band booster organizations or something of that nature. So the percussion instruction is there. It's just that they're not full time faculty members with benefits and the whole bit. So
Hmm.
I would love to see that happen in Tennessee, but I doubt seriously if it ever will.
Take some time.
Yeah, it does. It
I
does.
got a question from one of the guys I've been studying with, and Vibrant. It's a specific Dutch name, and
Okay.
he's organizing a big percussion ensemble event in the Netherlands every year, and he's asking, are the ensemble pieces from the Netherlands also known in the U.S.? Because we have like a
I
huge percussion ensemble culture here,
Yeah.
but all percussion ensembles are community ensembles.
Okay. Okay. They're not school ensembles.
No,
Okay. Okay.
we don't
Cool.
have any of those.
I know your works
Mm-hmm.
because of our relationship with one another. But honestly, I'm not familiar with other composers' works from your area unless I see them on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can't speak for anyone else,
Yeah.
but I can say for me personally that unless there's some type of distribution happening in the United States of that product, it's probably not known.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. Because let's face it, when it comes to marketing and sales with print music, distribution is everything.
Yeah. Because
And
I was asking a couple of people at TMEA or about this subject as well, Vibrant. I was asking, would it matter for you if the music you play with your ensemble is from another country? When you're Are you going to search for new music? Are you searching in your own country first? You're searching at JW Pepper or whatever at the roll-off site or at the tap space sites, or are you also looking around in other countries? And
that's a great question,
yeah,
and I think there's several answers to the question. I know some people, I know some band directors have tendencies to
he
they
says,
shop pub.
my friend says, such a shame.
um, uh, um, Several band directors shop based on who the publisher is.
Yeah.
Uh, they'll go, okay, I go to roll off for all of my needs, or I go wherever to innovative or tap space or wherever, and then some go to all of them. Some have favorite composers that they search for. Some have uh, certain styles that they're looking for. I know for me personally, if I am programming a concert
Mm-hmm.
for a percussion ensemble, unfortunately, I guess to say, um, the composer is probably the last thing that I take into consideration. I'm actually looking for certain styles because I want my concert to be diverse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a whole concert of modern music. I don't want a whole concert of Latin music. But I want something that's going to keep the audience engaged from the first note till the last note. And I've discovered for myself over the years that diversity and variety keeps the audience engaged the whole time. So if I'm looking for a Latin piece, then I'll go and I think, okay, I'm going to look for this composer and this composer,
You need a
or I'll
Lalo
search
piece.
that. Do what?
You need a Lalo piece.
Yeah, exactly. And but but as far as whether I'm searching in another country or whatever, it would be interesting if I was looking for a piece that represented the styles of music of the Japanese culture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to probably look for Japanese composers to see what's out there because I want something that's as authentic as possible. You know,
Yeah.
um, uh, it, I think a lot of times we search for music based on cultural aspects of that music. Um, and I would have to ask because I don't know the specifics of the cultural aspects of the music of the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something interesting to to find out about, or to have a piece that represents that really well
I
for a
can
percussion ensemble.
I can write you a piece where your kids needs to dance on wooden shoes.
There you go. You know, we could it'd be kind of cool, man. Right in the middle of the piece, the shoes come off,
Yeah.
and we're actually drumming with the shoes.
Yeah.
Excellent,
There you got an
excellent.
idea. Okay. Here I got a comment from good to see you, very own Mr. Freytag sharing his work. Mrs. C. Mrs. Ava Stone. You probably know her.
Ava Stone.
Yeah? Ava Stone.
Um, I'm not sure.
Okay, no, it doesn't matter.
Okay, is there
just
a question?
just a funny comment, no question.
Okay, cool.
Renee is asking, what's the reason music is integrated in school? In Europe, it's not common.
Okay. Uh, the reason, I guess, in today's environment and world, the reason is because there are so many politically active music educators today that have made sure that we pursue every avenue of securing a spot for the arts within the school systems, that it has become very, very prominent. We have every state has an association, so to speak. Tennessee's being Tennessee Music Education Association. I mean, I know I've got friends of mine that have lobbied the state government and the federal government
Mm-hmm.
for for making music a core curriculum, viable core curriculum part of the school educational programs. So, and fortunately, a lot of those government leaders were members of music organizations when they were in school. So, you know, they have really worked hard to secure a great place for the music programs in the educational system. But I'll be honest with you, it probably had more to do with politics and community involvement than it did the actual validity of the fact that we should study the arts because we should study the arts, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably less of a musical reason and much more of a political reason.
Okay, okay. Oh yeah, my friend says I have a Japanese piece,
Oh, cool.
and maybe you want to play it.
Excellent, excellent. Uh, um,
Yeah.
tell them to message me on Facebook and tell me about it.
Now, Vibrant, you know what to
Yeah,
do. You know
yeah.
what to
When this
do.
is over or something, they can message me.
Yeah. Okay, and then yeah, the how and then you publish your first book at Roloff, and
Yes.
you also have some percussion ensemble pieces published at several companies. Where did this started? Did it started from the need to write something for your own percussion ensemble kids in school, or did the Roloff guys ask you, we have a book now, you need to write some ensembles as well, or how did it
I,
happen?
actually, it was the opposite.
He's
I,
going
I
to
had
contact you,
I had
by
a
the way. My friend is going to contact you. He says I will.
Okay, excellent. Um, I actually had some ensembles published with Roloff before I ever wrote the Rudimental Cookbook.
Oh, cool.
So
So the
I had a
ensembles were
relationship
first.
with them. Yeah, and it was kind of weird. I was actually living in Miami, Florida, and a friend of mine there, I went to him and I said, "Man, I've got all of this music that I've written for high school ensembles over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find a publisher." I said, "Do you have a suggestion of something?" And he said, he said, "I've got these two friends in Nashville
Mm-hmm.
that have just started a publishing company there for percussion." So I literally drove from Miami to Nashville, which took me about maybe 15, 16 hours.
You're
I
kidding.
drove all the way to Miami to Nashville. I met one of the
I
roll off
guess you rang
guys.
them first. You rang them
No,
first.
yes, I called
Okay, yeah.
and drove to Nashville.
Yeah.
Met one of the guys in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we had a conversation for about an hour. Ate a meal. I gave him some stuff. I went back, got in my car, and I drove all the way back to Miami, and that was the beginning of our relationship there. But yeah, the ensembles came first, and then Rudimental Cookbook, and then it just kind of kept blossoming. Just keep writing things for them and for innovative percussion and for Maxwell Tree Music, and
Mm-hmm.
now for myself for some self-publishing things
Yeah.
that I'm going to be doing coming up in 2021. So
Because I always thought that Roloff was started out with publishing marching features and
that's correct.
cadences first, and after a couple of years they just started with concert percussion ensemble stuff.
Yes,
Or am I
that's
wrong?
right. No, you're correct.
Okay.
I that first meeting I had with them, they had just started doing the concert ensembles right then,
Okay.
and that's what I brought to them. I brought concert pieces to them. I think South of the Border,
Mm-hmm.
and Easy Winners were in those very first ensembles that they published for me, and but yeah, it was at the very beginning of their existence. So I've known these guys for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Because that's so funny. Because I understood that in most of schools you have like a band program and a percussion ensemble program. But if you want to do marching, that's just a project outside of school. That's what I understand. Before school or after school activity, and that's why it's so funny that they started publishing with marching stuff and decided to do concert stuff later as well.
Right. It's different from state to state and even from school system to school system. Some
Okay.
programs, actually, their marching band program takes place during the school day and after school, a combination. It takes up almost their entire fall curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
and then some. It's a true extracurricular activity that only occurs after the school hours. So it depends on where you are or what the school is or the school system's stance on that.
Mm-hmm.
Every program where I've taught, we actually pretty much the fall was dedicated to marching band.
Yeah.
So marching band was huge when they first started doing this, rather than the concert percussion ensemble. As a matter of fact, until Roloff came along, just to be quite bluntly honest, the literature available for high school and middle school percussion ensembles and soloists
Mm-hmm.
was pretty sad. There
Yeah.
wasn't much out there at all. Roloff basically filled this gigantic void that had existed for decades, and I can't praise enough what those guys have done over the past 30 years for the percussion community. It's just incredible.
So before that, you had a quite busy summer as a band director or a percussion specialist because you need to write the whole program yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So actually, in a lot of schools, they're like when school is on after summer, they just ran into marching band.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Not all, but
Yeah.
a good portion, particularly the ones that are super competitive. You know.
Yeah. And how about nowadays? When you're teaching in a middle school, you're having those
Yes.
kids like 3 years of their life. How is
Yeah.
it? How does it work in your school? Do they have like when they come to school after summer? Where do you start?
Well, the middle school where I'm teaching, which is Whitworth Buchanan Middle School here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there is no marching band program at all.
Okay.
Uh, as a matter of fact, most of the middle schools do not do marching band. in our school system, I don't think any of the middle schools do marching band.
Yeah,
Um,
I just
they'll,
heard
they'll do
from another
they'll do
band
pep
director
band.
that they have like band, and then when it's Mardi Gras, they just march one or two times, and then they go back to band again.
There you go. Yeah, we do pep band.
Yeah.
So we'll be in the stands and we'll play some football games with pep music and we'll play some basketball games and things of that nature. But for the most part, their time is spent seriously studying to learning to play music. Not marching or anything of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So at the school where I teach, that's where we are right now. We are just cramming fundamentals into these kids right now.
Yeah.
Just making sure that they're going to become really, really good players.
And then you're doing pep band with a drum set player or with the marching section. Marching.
Kind of a combination. I actually play drum set with them sometimes, and
That's cool.
which is kind of fun. And they'll be playing snare drums and bass drums and cymbals and things like that. And I'm back there laying down a groove, on the drum set with them. But it's fun. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
And you're teaching in person at the moment, or do you have a lot of virtual classes as well
Combination.
because of the
We're
situation?
probably at this point, I think we're about maybe close to 70% in person,
Okay.
and we still have about 30% of our student population, maybe more. I may be giving the numbers may be skewed a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but we do have what we call distance learning, where it's virtual programs for kids, and the faculty is doing both. We're actually teaching in person and doing the virtual programs at the same time, which is pretty interesting. But
And it started off like this after summer, or was it like more virtual lessons right after summer holiday?
It started just like this right after summer. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you hear.
There was a bigger percentage of distance learners right after summer, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them are coming back now. They're sort of trickling back into the school system, so we're seeing more and more kids.
Because you hear from a lot of schools they're totally virtual at the moment because of the
Right.
situation. So that's
Yeah.
also different in all states.
Yeah. It's different in every school system. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
And we're being very, very cautious, great safety precautions and things of that
Yeah.
nature to make the in-person thing work for us. So
I thought I would learn something about the education system in the US, but I'm still more confused.
uh,
I've got a couple of questions here from Renee. When you have your students at school a few years, what's your aim to teach them? Till what level?
the aim for me is to prepare them as best I can for their next level of instruction, which
Mm-hmm.
which for us would be high school.
Yeah.
Um, so I am really focused on developing their hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really focused on notational literacy,
Yeah.
making sure that they read well and that they understand as many scenarios as possible at their level that they're going to see in print music. Um, Trying to make them as well-rounded as possible with keyboard and timpani and multi-percussion and things of that nature. In other words, I could probably just sum it up saying that the 3 years they spend with me, it's kind of like having a group private lesson every day.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm preparing them for their ensemble experiences that they're going to have in high school. Although they have ensemble experiences with us, in my mind, it's a training ground to get them ready for the next level.
So it's the challenge to put everything you want to learn in the private lesson situations in the group lessons, in the ensemble
Yes,
lessons. Yeah.
absolutely.
And then um, do you have to teach them certain kind of things so they will be ready for ninth grade in high school? So for
I don't.
examples, if you want to come to high school, you need to know like say you need to know C scale, F scale, G scale, those kind of things, and you have to play the first 25 rudiments or
Right. Um, you know, uh, where we are, there is no standardization on that.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I don't have a target goal for the high schools where I'm sending these kids. Nobody's telling me, okay, they need to know this and this and this and this.
Okay.
But as a percussionist, I know that they need to know this and this and this and this and this. So, like I said, it's different from class to class. It's different depending on the students I'm teaching. You know, some kids may come out and they may be at this level when they're done. Some other kids may come out and they might be at this level when they're done,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all they could achieve at that point in time. So I try to tailor the instruction for the students that I have, but at the same time, keeping in mind the end result goal of where I know they're going, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a, here, Mr. Freytag, this is what you've
Yeah.
got to teach your kids. No, I don't have that.
He has to play the Red McHugh when he's in my class.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, no. Trust me, dude. He'll play a Rademacher.
I can. But that's so funny because it seems like everything is well organized, like in music education, and they have it in school all day. And when you compare it to our system, we have like in the most instruments we have like 4 levels in music education. It just happened that I has to do some exams today with my students, and they can reach their A level and then their B level, C level, D level, and when they're finished their D level, they need to be able to go like a conservatory.
Right.
If they want to, if they reach that level, they can do audition and study music.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
but there's not a system like that in the US.
Uh, well, I tell you what, kind of yes.
Kind of yes.
Uh,
Explain.
kind, kind of. When students leave their high school
Yeah.
uh, experience, they have to audition in order to get into university programs.
Yeah.
They can't just show up and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a musician." You
Yeah.
know, they go through an audition process,
Mm-hmm.
and most universities, about midway through, they will have there's a what they call a jury process there, where they have to pass a certain level of proficiency
Mm-hmm.
by that second year. And if they don't pass that level of proficiency, they are denied the opportunity to continue further, and they have to find something else to do. So, in that respect, there's some similarities as
Mm-hmm.
far as reaching certain goal levels and then having to pass criteria in order to keep moving forward. But for us here, it's pretty much a university thing. It's not a middle and high school thing.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's about the same. Because I also read a lot about. I thought you were busy with it as well last week's with state etudes.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. For every state organization, music organization has regional honors bands that kids audition for, and then they usually come together. They'll spend a weekend with a guest conductor, and they do a concert for the public. But the real thing about those is those are preparatory places for kids wanting to study music in college.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that all of those kids are going to do that. It doesn't even mean all those kids want to do that. But in order to get in those honors bands, there's a pretty rigorous criteria they have to go through to get membership in those honors
Oh,
bands.
okay.
And then after the regional bands, then there's usually an all-state band where you
Mm-hmm.
take this part from each region and you put it together into an all-state band. Texas has several all-state bands because of the size of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee has about maybe 3 or 4 different all-state bands. There's an all-state jazz band. There's an all-state orchestra.
Yeah.
And I'm involved in these things based on the fact that usually I'm one of the persons that judges auditions for the middle state regional honors bands
Mm-hmm.
for particularly the jazz aspect of it.
Okay.
And
Cool.
I also compose. I write the etudes for the auxiliary world percussionist to
Okay.
play in their auditions.
So
So that's
if
why you've probably seen on YouTube
yeah,
videos I've created doing a tutorial on how to play those things. So
so if you can play the etude, you can be part of the band.
possibly
And
it's a competition.
yeah,
There's like
you have to
yeah,
go to a audition, and then you can play the etude, and then they'll probably pick the best ones for the band.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's exactly what happens.
and
Yeah.
then you have etudes for like timpani, xylophone,
Yes.
snare
Yeah.
drum,
Yep.
and
Yep. There will be a snare, yeah, snare, timpani, keyboard, um, audition, sight reading,
mhm.
rudiments. Rudiments is
And
part
then
of the
one
audition.
person can do like more auditions on one day. For example, he wants to play in the band so badly, so he auditions for xylophone and snare drum as well.
I think they actually, in most scenarios, they audition for all. It's actually part of the audition
Oh,
process.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the jazz thing is totally separate.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole separate entity there. And then they can do both. They can actually audition for the classical side of it, and they can also audition for the jazz side of it. And if they capture a spot in both at the regional level, they can usually do both because those events happen at different times.
Mm-hmm.
But at the all state level, they'll have to choose: do I want to be a part of the jazz thing, or do I want to do the classical thing?
Yeah.
Because all of it happens at the same time. If that makes any sense
It's
at all.
it's in the same weekend.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I got another comment from Vibrant. He says the biggest difference between the US and the Dutch ensembles is the instrumentation, and I guess I know what he's meaning because our percussion ensembles are have like a marching tradition. We
Okay.
have like we had a lot of marching percussion ensembles with marching marimbas, marching xylophones,
Right.
marching bells, and he says I often miss some bass parts in it, especially the role of ensemble pieces. That's why they often sound a little empty in his meaning. And is there a special reason for that? Yeah, we have like a big tradition with 5 octave marimbas who are playing the foundation of the ensemble together
Right.
with the timpanis. And yeah, maybe you can explain the
Uh,
re-
I'm assuming he's talking like electric bass or something of that nature, right?
yeah, and I think he don't want to use an electric bass in the percussion ensemble because
Right. Right.
he's more like a classical guy.
Sure. And I get that.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and I've actually, well, for me personally, because of my jazz background, I love using electric bass
Mm-hmm.
in a percussion ensemble.
I understand.
Um, that's just one of my personal preferences. I
Mm-hmm.
don't do it in everything I write, but I've written plenty that does that. But you can always substitute, like you said, like the 5 octave marimba. If you don't want to use electric bass, have the marimbas play it.
Mm-hmm.
It works great. And sometimes I'll actually double that. I will specify that this part can be doubled by a marimbist or can be performed with low octave marimba. Um, but I personally like bass in the ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a personal preference.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, just substitute a low end marimba
Yeah.
for it.
But do they
and
have
uh,
like
and and yeah,
I
and
think
make it
we have like a big tradition because a lot of marimbas made are used worldwide are made in Holland, and
yes.
I think the for example a lot of percussion ensembles do own like 1 or 2 5 octave marimbas, and I'm
Yes.
just wondering if schools do own a 5 octave marimba in the US.
It varies from school to school, and it
Mm-hmm.
varies from school system to school system. Um, there's a middle school program in Atlanta that has more percussion equipment than most high schools do. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Scott Brown's program there
Ah, yeah.
at
Dickerson.
yeah, and his program's just an incredible middle school program. They
Yeah.
got 5 octave marimbas, and a lot of high schools now have 5 octave marimbas, but many only still have the four and a third.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when I'm writing, particularly if I'm writing a piece that I'm targeting high school ensembles for,
Mm-hmm.
often I'm careful about what I write for the bottom end of the marimba, thinking that well, I don't want to eliminate people from being able to play this because they don't own a 5 octave marimba.
Yeah.
You know,
To make it
um,
safe, you're only writing until a low A.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. He also says maybe when the compositions from the US have more extra parts to get, he wants a fat sound
yeah,
in his bottom register, and
right.
if the US compositions have more extra parts to create that fat sound, we can play it much more, and we need it, especially not too hard to play. The more easy pieces.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, that's great suggestion there. Um, like I said, I'm not going to say everything I've written, but a lot of things I've written, I have electric bass in it, and sometimes I even have synthesized keyboards in
Mm-hmm.
the percussion ensemble,
Yeah.
even fill out voicings, and I've used when I sometimes I'll be working with an ensemble and I don't have a bass player, so I'll actually bring in a synth player
Yeah.
and have them play the bass part just on a synth keyboard,
Yeah, or
and
just play it with a mallet cat, or
yeah,
those cool new Pearl things. What is it? Mallet Station, or
no, station, yeah,
what was it
yeah,
called? Yeah. So that's a
yeah,
lot easier to get bass parts in your music nowadays.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. I think he would contact you about this personally.
Sure. No problem,
Okay.
no problem.
There we're talking a one and a half hour already. We had fun. Um, I
It's
just
fun.
I just want to talk about one more subject. Your in your bio you were talking about that you were touring and playing with a lot of international known artists and jazz players. Can you tell us something about that and how it influenced your work and your writing?
Sure. I fortunately have had lots of opportunities to play with some very cool human beings. And uh, most of the time, a lot of times it had to do with just being in the right place at the right time. And or maybe I'd played with someone else on a project or something, and they happened to work for this person that books for this artist, and it just kind of uh, 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 just sort of worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I had some great opportunities, some super fun ones. Probably one of the most fun ones for me was playing with Aretha Franklin.
Yeah,
Uh, Boy, what a great band, man! That was just incredible.
I can
Uh,
imagine.
her
You.
her entourage, full horn section,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes three, four trumpets, two or three trombones, full saxophone section, two keyboards, usually three to four backup singers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, drum set, guitar, bass, and two percussionists. And I've played that gig along with a good friend of mine over at Mapex Majestic that works for them, Jeff Mulvihill.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff actually, we were together on that gig, and boy, that was a great
Oh, you
band.
played it
And
together with Jeff. That's funny. Because I was what I see from him. It's I'm That's funny because you see people active on social media, and I was thinking more like a classical percussion guy.
well, he is that for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
he plays a lot, does a lot of symphonic work, but Jeff is also very well versed in the hip side of the music.
The hip side of music, the Latin stuff.
It's great opportunities. Got to play with Dizzy Gillespie
Cool.
and um, Randy Brecker.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which was amazing experience. And at the time, Eliana Elias, a Brazilian pianist, she was married to Randy at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
got to play percussion with those guys. And so, in saying all of that, as a musician, I try to be as well balanced as I can. I love being an educator. I love teaching. I love composing, arranging. I love performing, and I try to do as much of all of it as I can, because I think it keeps, particularly from a writing standpoint, the performing experiences that I have, I think really help me in my composition and my arranging, um, by surrounding myself all the time with great creative pro musicians. It just inspires me to write cool stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, that's been super. And it was really interesting when I first moved to Nashville. I I thought, okay, I'm going to have to play country music
Yeah,
when I
of
moved to
course.
Nashville.
Yeah.
And I moved here from Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I wasn't amazingly excited about that, but I knew there were great opportunities here. I moved here in the early '90s when the country music scene was just absolutely slamming the country at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got here, and being that musician that always tries to prepare for things, I thought, okay, I'm going to Nashville. I got to start listening to country music like crazy. I've got to know what. So I start listening to country music, and after just a really short period, I'm going, that was kind of cool. That's some cool stuff. And shortly, I started listening to the classic stuff, man. Johnny Cash, Willie, and
Mm-hmm.
Waylon, and all these classic country musicians. And the more traditional and classic it was, the more I liked it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the next thing I knew, I fell in love with country music.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, this is cool, man. This is some great music, and there's some great drumming taking place on these tracks. So anyway, all of that together has sort of molded me into, I guess, who I am as a musician. Um,
The final
uh,
result.
the final product, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
That's cool.
but I'm writing like a madman right now. I've got
Yeah.
about 5 or 6 projects that I'm working on,
But
and very
but
excited about all of them.
especially
That's
for bands, or the new book, of course, is one.
Most
But
of it's for percussion ensemble,
okay.
and it's either books or percussion ensemble things that I'm working on right now. I've got one ensemble I'm working on in particular that I'm really excited about. It's an advanced piece, and it is very based on contemporary jazz, and I'm just super excited about this piece. It'll probably be a 3 movement work is the way it's shaping up at the moment. But it's if you dig Chick Corea and John Coltrane
Mm-hmm.
and Scott Joplin and just all those kind of things rolled up into one, you'll like this piece.
Cool. Look, and that will be published in like a couple of months or next year.
Oh, geez. I'm not going to say,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
if I say, then it makes me think, oh my gosh, I got to get that thing done.
I'm 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 not
But
putting I'm
it'll be
not putting any
sometime in
pressure.
early 2021. I'll put
Yeah.
it that
Okay.
way.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I would like to ask the people who are with us if there are any extra questions, and if they're not, I want to end this meeting because we're talking about one and
Oh
a
my
half hour, and my glass is almost empty, as you can see. So I
That's
I
great.
I have no more
Well,
talking water left.
well, let me say, I really appreciate everybody that tuned in, and I've had a blast chatting with you, man, and just getting to talk to some new people, and it's just been super. If you don't mind, I would be very remiss if I did not give a shout out to all the wonderful endorser companies that help me out and
You can.
make a reality for what I do. So I'd like to say hey to Roll Off Productions for sure. Absolutely great publishers. KHS.
They will be here with me within a couple of weeks in the same
Yeah,
session.
Oh, by the way, I had dinner last night with Chris Brooks,
Okay.
and he said to tell you hi. And
Okay, thank you.
yeah, and he told me then. He said he thought that they were going to be doing a show with you guys. So that's killer.
Uh-huh.
And KHS America, Mapex drums and
Majestic.
Majestic percussion,
Hmm.
innovative sticks and mallets, Remo drum heads, Sabian cymbals, Humes and Bird cases and bags, and Monk drums cajones.
Hmm.
And uh, uh, boy, those all those guys have just taken such great care of me. Great products, super great people. And dude, I appreciate you, man, being
Thank
Mr.
you.
Distributor over in your part of the world.
No,
Appreciate you greatly.
no problem. My pleasure. There's one
Yeah.
last question from
Yes.
Rene, and he says, playing jazz, funk, or soul with artists that this has this influenced your teaching?
Absolutely, yes. Um, uh, I, I, I make sure in my teaching that I incorporate elements to students that I know will help them be successful, not only as just percussionists, but as commercial musicians.
Hmm.
Because, like I said, with me thinking that there's some shortcomings in the educational system at the moment, I'm going to try to make sure that those shortcomings don't come from me to my students. So it definitely has affected the way I teach, and it has incredibly affected the way I write. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I would like to end this live meeting. Thanks again, Ed, for talking with us all the way from the US to Europe with a time difference of 6 hours.
Wow.
Um, Everybody who joined this meeting, thanks a lot for being here. The meeting is from tonight. It's online on our. It's still available online on our Facebook page, Show Marching Music Facebook page. So if you want to share it on your timeline, everyone else can see it, please do. Thanks for your attention. And oh, I totally forgot about this. I planned another meeting with Nathan Daughtry from C. Allen Publications. He's here live with us next week, and please check the Facebook page because I'm not sure, but I think I planned it on Friday evening in European time, Friday evening. And he's here with us for the same reason, meet the artist and his work with Nathan Daughtry from C. Allen Publications. So, thanks, Edward.
Yes.
I
Tell
hope
Nathan I
I
said
hope
hi.
we're able to travel soon and see you in person again. And
Oh, that was great.
until then, take care and goodbye.
Thanks
And
a bunch.
and
See you guys.
thanks everybody for being here. Bye bye.